Thank you, Steve. Good morning. So I'm Michael Boccacino, Senior Director of Content Partnerships at TheSoul Publishing. Let's see if this works. There we go. TheSoul is a digital-first content studio, and I think the best way to explain what we do is to show you with just a quick sizzle reel. This is 5 Minute Crafts. It is our flagship brand. It also happens to be the #1 DIY brand across all of social. Videos range from 10 seconds to 10 minutes in length, and they are always bright, energetic, and relentlessly positive in a way I don't think you always necessarily see on the internet. So 5 Minute Crafts is just one of many brands we've launched over the last few years. We've really gotten great at launching new brands using that formula that I just described across platforms like YouTube, TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook. You name it, we're pretty much there. And our focus on positive, snackable content has really fueled our growth across social. We have about 1.5 billion followers across all social platforms. And that scale is really the key to our revenue model. We primarily focus on ad-supported programmatic ad tools provided by these platforms. We do have an occasional brand partnership with companies like Crayola or Mattel, but that's really our bread and butter. As Steve was saying, if you look at monthly online video traffic from YouTube and Facebook, we are the #1 digital publisher in the world. We get about 14 billion views per month. That makes us larger than Netflix, larger than Disney. If I was giving this presentation a year ago, I might have said, sure, but a view on YouTube isn't exactly the same thing as a view on a streaming platform. And I don't know that that's necessarily true anymore. If you see what's happening with the ad-supported streaming tiers that Netflix and Disney are introducing, they're also introducing a new level of competition for the ad dollars that are flowing into digital platforms. If you talk to a young person who grew up watching YouTube, chances are they probably don't watch a lot of traditional television, but they do watch a lot of digital-first programming on CTV apps like the YouTube app, like the TikTok app that you might find on a Roku or an Apple TV. We started to notice that in our own numbers a few years ago, and it helped us realize that TV isn't necessarily a real format anymore. It's a platform. And the distinctions we keep making between film and television and digital-first content, they're going to continue to fall away. Case in point, Roku recently rolled out a creator hub on their home screen, which means you have content from places like YouTube competing alongside content from traditional legacy media companies. Stands to reason, if you're really good at YouTube, you now have an opportunity to compete in these new environments that were previously dominated by the legacy media companies. And so we started to seek out partnerships with CTV platforms like Roku, like Samsung, like Amazon. And today I'm going to share a little bit about what we've learned along the way so far. Lesson number 1, distribution on streaming is surprisingly similar to distribution on social. And what I mean by that is most platforms require the same kinds of assets in formats that are just different enough to be really annoying. But luckily, a lot of the solutions from social are also applicable to streaming as well. If you have a good tech team, you can typically plug your CMS into the platforms. If you don't have a good tech team, there are plenty of companies who'd be willing to do that on your behalf for a small slice of the ad revenue. There are also a lot of larger publishers looking to license content from smaller companies and to take on that work on your behalf in order to monetize more content that these companies wouldn't be able to do otherwise. Number 2, volume is king. One of the reasons we've been able to establish ourselves so quickly in the streaming space is that we have thousands of hours of programming that we've built for YouTube over the last number of years. And we found that ad-supported VOD platforms typically require at least 10 to 15 episodes per season of programming, with episodes that run about 10 minutes in length, if not longer. Free ad-supported streaming television, or FAST channels for short, are a little bit different. These are the types of channels you might see on a Pluto TV or a Samsung TV Plus. For those of you who aren't familiar with FAST channels, they're basically like cable channels designed for streaming, or think of it like a 24-hour YouTube live stream that you can plug in to a streaming platform. And their requirements are much more robust. They look for at least 50 hours of original programming, or 50 hours of original footage to launch one, so there's a slightly higher entry point. And I'll talk about FAST channels a little bit later. but there's a big distinction between the two as you're launching in the streaming space. Number 3, data is limited. I think it's no newsflash that there's no standard KPI across most streaming platforms, but we are starting to see this change. For example, on Roku, recently they just launched next day performance data on their analytics tool. Last quarter, they posted the same volume of data once a month. So what we're seeing is more ad dollars are flowing into the streaming platforms. They're really starting to sit up and mature and provide more information that allows us to guide our programming. Number 4, it is really hard to break into the US streaming market right now. It's so saturated. But that doesn't mean it's impossible. If you have a large catalog of IP or a large volume of content like we do, you can sometimes get a foothold. But what we've actually found more useful is to focus on the foreign markets as an initial entry point. We started with Europe and Australia, and we proved our success enough that places that previously closed the door on us were more than willing to work with us once we proved that our content was doing really well on their platforms in other markets. Number 5, rev shares are the industry standard. I do know some places and some studios where they've been able to negotiate minimum guarantees per episode if they have a really juicy premium piece of IP that a platform's trying to chase. But for the most part, what we've seen are revenue shares that are comparable to YouTube and Snapchat and the other social platforms that we've worked with in the past, with Roku providing the most scale and the most consistent monetization. They're also looking for a lot of content, so if you are looking to break into streaming, it's a great place to start. Number 6, the one thing we're still trying to figure out is how to consistently amplify our content and drive engagement. You spend all that time getting your content delivered on the platform. How do you keep people coming back? Streaming is distinct from social in one specific way, in that it's a lot harder to upload more content more quickly. You're not dropping new videos every day or even every week. So how do you keep people coming back, especially when these platforms are onboarding so much content all the time? It is chaos. And one of the things we found is that, first and foremost, align with editorial calendars. If a platform has a seasonal alignment that they're looking for, it's easy to sometimes get promotion on the homepage by syncing up with those. Some of these platforms also offer paid media campaigns that allow you to amplify your own content. You can try bribing your partner manager. But the one thing we've seen most consistently is that uploading content at a steady stream of pace and uploading new content gets you better promotion on the home screen. Number 7, fast channels. Free ad-supported streaming television, we feel like, is the future of where streaming is going for a few reasons. But really, this example from Google TV kind of highlights it for me. It looks a lot like our traditional television and the kind of television that advertisers are used to running media against. The key difference is that the channel mix is slightly different. Instead of having a channel like an AMC, you'd have a channel dedicated to 24 hours of The Walking Dead, or 24 hours of Baywatch, or 5-Minute Crafts. So if you have IP that can break through the noise, and if you can connect with an audience, you have an opportunity to have a seat at the table, which is a really exciting proposition for a company like ours, which is coming from the new media space. That also means you have even more platforms to distribute to, which can be kind of stressful, but you have even more opportunities to grow your business. And I think that's close to my 5 to 10 minutes. I'm going to stop there and take some questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Are there any questions that you have quickly now? And then we're going to be taking this up in the panel after the break. But do you have any quick questions that come to mind from this? Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Michael, thank you so much. That was lovely. I'm curious to see if you guys see a different amount of consumption on these different providers, or are people watching the same content equally across all the different CTV outlets?
It depends on the platform and the market. I would say that Roku has such a large market share in the US, and that's where a lot of ad dollars are being spent. That's what we've been chasing. We've seen good engagement from European markets. Spain is also a big one. But for the most part, I would say VOD has been much bigger for us than FAST to date, but we expect that to shift over the next few years.
How much media buying do you need to do on these platforms to get discovered versus aligning, as you suggested, maybe aligning with their calendars in order to surface organically?
Some of them have free ad-supported tools or free tools that you can engage with. It just takes some technical work to integrate. I would say it's also important to do really thorough metadata tagging and to make sure that when people are searching for your content, they can find it. We found really good searchability. I think that's just given our content. We make crafting videos, things that solve people's problems. So we've had a lot of success in helping or finding success in amplifying the content by having good keywords that people can find and search.
But I guess my bottom line question is, does it make business sense now to spend, as you're spending the level of spend that's necessary to be discovered on these platforms? Is that sustainable, or it's ultimately you're expecting that it becomes more organically discoverable and thus a better business proposition?
I think it's pretty nascent. We've been more focused on organic promotion. We know it's there, but for the most part, we've been focused on driving traffic through editorial alignments and making sure we can pin our content against what's trending, same way we've done with social.
Michael, thanks so much for teeing us up. You're going to be back on
Yes.
the panel on CTV.
Thank you.
We are